Hello, my dear students. I'm back with you once again. In this occasion, we're going to continue practicing English. And the topic for this video is there was and there were. There was, había, there were, habían. There was is for singular, and there were is for plural, okay? So I'm going to share with you a video right here. I have it. There was and there were. We're gonna watch this video and we're gonna be practicing. Okay, there was, había, there were, habían. Okay, here we go. There was a book on the table. Había un libro en la mesa. There were books on the table. Habían libros en la mesa. Singular. There was a dog at the park. Había un perro en el parque. Plural. There were dogs at the park. Habían perros en el parque. Okay, there was is for one, for singular, and there were is for two or more, or plural. Okay, let's practice. There was a sandwich on the plate. Había un emparedado en el plato. There was a sandwich on the plate. Plural. There were books on the table. Habían libros en la mesa. Singular. There was a cat on the chair. Había un gato en la silla. Singular. There was a girl in the library. Había una niña en la biblioteca. Plural. There were butterflies in the jar. Habían mariposas en el frasco. Plural. There were apples in the basket. Habían manzanas en el cesto. Summary. Remember, there was is for singular and there were is for plural, two or more. Okay? Now let's do this quiz. Plural, so in this case is there were dogs at the park. Habían perros en el parque. Singular, there was. There was a key on the nightstand. Había una llave en la cómoda. Plural, so we have to use there were. There were people at the gym. Habían personas en el gimnasio. Excellent, okay? So this is the video about there was and there were. Okay, I'm gonna share with you one more. In this case, it's gonna be a presentation about PowerPoint. Okay, hold on a second. Right there, you have it right there. There was, había, singular. There were, habían, plural. This is the example. For singular, we have to use there was. There was a car, like in this example, singular. Plural. There were two cars, like in this example. Okay, there were two cars. Okay, and then we continue. Right here, we have the explanation about there was. The past simple of there is there was. El pasado simple de there is there was. There is hay. There was había. We use there was to talk or ask about something that existed in the past. Usamos there was para hablar o preguntar acerca de algo que existió en el pasado. Remember the present and the past. For the present, we use there is a car today. In the past, the same idea, but in past, there was a car yesterday. There is a car today, hay un carro hoy. There was a car yesterday, había un carro ayer. Another example, there is milk today, hay leche hoy. In past, there was milk yesterday, había leche ayer. So remember, there was is for past. Okay? And we have now there were. There were. The past simple of there are is there were. El pasado simple de there are es there were. There are, hay. There were, habían. We use there were to talk or ask about something that existed in the past. Usamos there were para hablar o preguntar acerca de algo que existió en el pasado. This is the present and this is the past. In the present, there are two houses. Hay dos casas. The same idea in past, there were two houses. Habían dos casas. Okay, one more example. There are three books. Hay tres libros. The same idea in past, we have to use there were. There were three books. Habían tres libros. Okay, so remember, there were is for past, in plural, habían. Okay, so remember, there was, había, in singular. There were, habían, in plural. Okay, and right here, we have the affirmative, the negative, the question, and the short answer for there was and there were. In affirmative, of course, we use there was. In negative, there wasn't or there was not. In the question form, we have to use was there. For the short answer, affirmative, yes, there was. And for the negative one, no, there wasn't. And for there were, this is affirmative, there were. For negative is there weren't or there were not. For the question, we have to use were there. And for the short answer, affirmative, we have to use there, yes, there were. And for the negative one is no, there weren't. Okay? Now over here, we have a more specific explanation. There was. Example with the affirmative form. There was a computer in the store. This is affirmative. Había una computadora en la tienda. There was a computer in the store. Now this idea in negative, there wasn't a computer in the store. And this idea in question, was there a computer in the store? And the short answer affirmative is yes, there was, or no, there wasn't for the negative short answer. So please remember this explanation about there was, okay? Now, the explanation about there were in affirmative, negative, question, and short answer is like this. The example in the affirmative form is, there were two tables in the house. Habían dos mesas en la casa. That's the affirmative one. And the negative one is, there weren't two tables in the house. And for the question, were there two tables in the house? The short answer is yes, there were for the affirmative, or no, there weren't for the negative. Okay? So this is a very good explanation for you to practice over and over. Okay? Once you have this explanation, we're going to continue with exercises. Practice the next exercises. Okay? Now, you can go to your wonderful world book and you can find these examples in your wonderful world book. on page, I have it over here, on page 82, on page 82, on your wonderful roll book, you can find the examples that we're gonna practice, okay? Well, let's continue. Complete the sentences with there was, there were, there wasn't, or there weren't. Remember the translation, okay? There was, había, in singular. There were, habían, in plural, for two or more. There wasn't, no había, in singular. And there weren't, no habían, in plural, for two or more. Okay, right here we have one example, number one. There were many tourists on the beach. This is an affirmative example. There were many tourists on the beach. Había muchos turistas en la playa. Now for number two, we have to complete the example in negative. So we have to analyze if example number two is affirmative or negative. In this case, it's negative. And we have to analyze if it is singular or plural. So in this case, it's singular because we're talking about snow, nieve. Nieve is singular. So in this case, is there wasn't. So right here, you have to write there wasn't much snow on the mountain. Okay? No había mucha nieve en la montaña. All right. Now, let's go to number three. Number three, we have to do it in the negative form, okay? Now, we have to analyze if example number three is singular or plural. In this case, number three is plural because we're talking about umbrellas, sombrillas. So we're talking about plural. So since it's negative, we have to use there weren't. So number three is there weren't. There weren't any umbrellas in the sand. No había sombrillas en la arena. Okay? So number three. Now let's go to number four. Number four, we have to do it affirmative. Okay? And we have to analyze if number four is singular or plural. In this case, number four is plural because we're talking about people, personas. So it's affirmative, we have to use the plural one. There were, so number four is there were many people on the plane. Había muchas personas en el avión. There were many people on the plane. Okay, now number five. We have to analyze if number five is affirmative or negative. Well, right here it says that it's affirmative, okay? And now we have to analyze if it is singular or plural. In this case, we're talking about a sailing boat. We're talking about lancha. All right? So in this case, it's singular. Okay? So we're going to use there was. There was a sailing boat in the sea. Había una lancha para navegar en el mar. Okay? Well, we go to number six. And in this case, we have to do number six in the affirmative form. Okay? And we have to analyze if it is singular or if it is plural. In this case, it's plural, okay? Because we're talking about swimming pools, albercas. And we have to do it in affirmative, so we have to use there were. There were two swimming pools at the hotel. Había dos albercas en el hotel, okay? So this is the explanation for this exercise. Let's review. Number one, there were many tourists on the beach. Number two, there wasn't much snow on the mountain. Number three, there weren't any umbrellas in the sand. Number four, there were many people on the plane. Number five, there was a sailing boat in the sea. And number six, there were two swimming pools at the hotel. Okie dokie? Well, this is One exercise. Let's do another exercise. In this case, you have to circle the correct words. Okay? This is the example number 1. Mom and dad weren't on the houseboat last weekend. In this case, we have to use weren't because we're talking about plural, mom and dad. Okay? Mamá y papá no estaban en el bote el fin de semana pasado. Okay? Now we have to go to number 2. We have to analyze if we're going to use was or were. Well, in this case, we're talking about the hotel. Only one hotel, so it's singular. So we have to use was. Okay? So I'm going to put, well, in this case, I'm going to circle was. Okay? Was the hotel expensive? ¿Estaba el hotel caro? All right, number 2, was the hotel expensive? Now, number 3, we have to analyze if number 3 is singular or plural. So in this case, we're talking about people. People is plural. It can be 2 or more. Remember, for plural, we have to use were. Okay? So in this case, I have to circle were. Number 3, there were a lot of people at the parade. Habían muchas personas en el desfile. There were a lot of people at the parade. Now let's go with number 4. Okay, what am I going to circle in number 4? There were or were there? Well, in this case, I have to analyze if the sentence is affirmative, negative, or interrogative. The sentence is interrogative. It's a question. Right here we have a question mark. So I have to circle it in interrogative. And for this, you have to remember the interrogative form. Were there any snakes in the desert? ¿Había víboras en el desierto? Okay. Now let's continue with number 5. My trainers was or were? Well, if it is singular, we have to use was. If it is plural, we have to use were. Okay, I'm talking about my trainers, mis tenis. Okay, so in this case, it's plural. My trainers were. Okay, so I have to use were. I'm going to circle were. My trainers were under the suitcase. Mis tenis estaban debajo de la maleta. Okay, my trainers were under the suitcase. Okay, now let's do number 6. Sally was or were? Okay, if it is singular, remember we use was. If it is plural, we use were. In this case, we're talking about Sally. We're talking about only one person. It's singular. So I'm going to circle was. Okay, Sally was in France last week. Sally estaba en Francia la semana pasada. Okay, let's practice all the exercises. Number 1, repeat after me or with me. Number 1, Mom and Dad weren't on the houseboat last weekend. Number 2, was the hotel expensive? Number 3, there were a lot of people at the parade. Number 4, were there any snakes in the desert? Number 5, my trainers were under the suitcase. And number 6, Sally was in France last week. Okay, so this is one more exercise that you can practice for you to understand a little bit more was and were. Okay, and we still have one more exercise. Okay, we're gonna go to the last exercise that you're gonna be doing. Okay, the instructions. Look at the picture and complete the text with was, wasn't, were, or weren't. Okay, was for affirmative, wasn't for negative, were for affirmative if it is plural, and weren't for negative, for negative if it is plural, okay? Right here we have a picture, okay? Look at this picture, analyze this picture. Okay, the possible answers, we have them over here. Okay, we're gonna choose these answers, these possible answers, and we're gonna put them in the correct number. Okay? Well, we have already example number 1. Last month, we were on a boat. El mes pasado estábamos en un barco. Okay, number 2. Eat the middle of summer. What are we going to write over here? Well, first we have to understand that it is singular and the sentence is affirmative. So I'm going to use was for this reason. Okay, I'm gonna, sorry, I'm gonna bring it over here and I'm gonna put it over here. It was the middle of summer. Era la mitad del verano. It was the middle of summer. Let's continue. But, pero, it. Okay, so we have to do it in negative right here because but indicates an opposite idea. Okay, so remember it is for singulars, and so we're gonna use wasn't. Because it's negative and it's singular. But it wasn't hot, pero no estaba caluroso. But it wasn't hot. Okay, let's continue. There, okay, I have to analyze if it is affirmative or negative. Well, the sentence is affirmative. Now I have to analyze if it is singular or if it is plural. So in this case, it's plural because I'm talking about clouds, nubes, okay? So I have to choose were, because were is for plural, okay? So right here, there were lots of clouds in the sky. Había muchas nubes en el cielo. There were lots of clouds in the sky. Okay, let's continue with number 5. The boat, okay, so remember, you have to analyze if the sentence is affirmative or negative. In this case, it's affirmative. Now you have to analyze if it is singular or if it is plural, okay? So in this case, it's singular because we're talking about the boat. So the boat was. The boat was nice, okay? So right here, el barco estaba agradable. The boat was nice. Let's continue. But, pero, remember, but indicates an opposite idea. So this sentence has to be negative. But we is for plural. So plural and negative, we have to use weren't right there. But we weren't very happy. Pero nosotros no estábamos muy felices. But we weren't very happy because there, and I have to analyze in this case, the sentence is affirmative. No, it's negative because any indicates negative, okay? And okay, this is plural, seats, the noun is plural, okay? So since it's negative and plural, I have to use weren't. Okay, there weren't any seats because there weren't any seats porque no había ningún asiento o nada de asientos. All right, there weren't any seats. Okay, and let's continue with number 8. Eat. Remember, I have to analyze if the sentence is affirmative or negative. In this case, the sentence is affirmative. Now I have to analyze if it is singular or plural. In this case, it is for singular. Well, right here, I'm gonna use was. Okay, it was a terrible boat trip. Fue un viaje de barco horrible. Okay, let's practice one more time. Last month, we were on a boat. It was the middle of summer, but it wasn't hot. There were lots of clouds in the sky. The boat was nice, but we weren't very happy because there weren't any seats. It was a terrible boat trip. Okay, and right here you have one more exercise for you to continue practicing, to continue repeating, so you can understand the topic a little bit more. and you can start memorizing it, okay, and understanding the topic a little bit more. Okay. Well, congratulations, and remember, concentration, effort, and obedience, my dear students. Well, you have one more exercise to do in your care bar book. Okay, right here I'm sharing the pages. Okay, it's taking a little bit, but we're gonna see it very soon. Okay, right there we have it. In your Herbert book, on pages 10 and 11, you will find this topic. There was and there were. Remember, there was, había, in singular. There were, habían, in plural, two or more, okay? Remember, we use there was for countable nouns in singular or for uncountable nouns. This means that the noun is always going to be in singular. For example, there was an apple. There was a tomato. There was sugar. There was rice. Okay, and there were. We use there were for countable nouns in plural. Examples, there were apples and there were tomatoes. Okay, so now that you have it, you continue to the next page and you have to do this exercise. There was and there were. Okay, complete the next exercises using there was or there were in affirmative, negative, or interrogative. Number one, it's interrogative because it has a question mark. Okay, so in this case is were there. Were there many people in the concert yesterday? ¿Había muchas personas en el concierto ayer? Were there many people in the concert yesterday? Number two. Number two, it's question. Okay, but the question is singular. So in this case, was there any interesting film? ¿Había alguna película interesante? Okay, was there any interesting film? Number three. It's interrogative. You can see it because right here you have the question mark. Was there a lot of food at the party? ¿Había mucha comida en la fiesta? Was there a lot of food at the party? Number four, it's affirmative. And in this case, it's plural. So I'm going to use there were. Remember, there were is for affirmative in plural. There were hundreds of trees here. Había cientos de árboles aquí. Okay, number five. Let's continue with number five. It's interrogative. And in this case, it's singular because water is uncountable. So I'm gonna write, was there? Was there any mineral water in the fridge? ¿Había algo de agua mineral en el refrigerador? Was there any mineral water in the fridge? Okay, let's continue with number six. Number six is affirmative, and in this case, it's singular, car, only one car. So I'm gonna write there was. There was is for singular and for affirmative. Okay, number seven. Number seven is affirmative and it's plural. Children is plural. Okay, so I'm gonna write there were 20 children there. Había 20 niños ahí. There were 20 children there. Okay, and let's continue with number nine. Number nine, it's also affirmative. And in this case, It's plural because supermarkets, it's plural. So I'm going to write there were many supermarkets in London. Había muchos supermercados en Londres. There were many supermarkets in London. And number 9. Okay, number 9. It's negative. How do I know it? ¿Cómo lo sé? How do I know it? Well, because any is for negative, remember. Okay? And sugar is uncountable. So this means that it has to be singular. So in this case, there wasn't is for singular and negative. There wasn't any sugar. No había nada de azúcar. Okay, and finally, number 10. Number 10 is interrogative. And in this case, parents is plural. So I'm gonna write, were there any parents at the party? Okay, ¿había algunos papás en la fiesta? Were there any parents at the party? Okay, let's review. Repeat after me. Number 1. Were there many people in the concert yesterday? Okay, number 2. Was there any interesting film? Okay, number 3. Was there a lot of food at the party? Now it's your turn. Number 4. There were hundreds of trees here. Okay, now it's your turn. Okay, number 5. Was there any mineral water in the fridge? Your turn. Okay, number 6. There was only one car there last Sunday. Your turn. Okay, number 7. There were 20 children there. Your turn. Okay, number 8. There were many supermarkets in London. Your turn. Okay, number 9. There wasn't any sugar. Your turn. Okay, and number 10. Were there any parents at the party? Your turn. Okay, great. Well, my dear students, you are very, very intelligent. Continue concentrating. Remember, concentration, effort, and obedience. And until the next time, I hope you have a great day. Remember, I love you. See you later.